guys, it's Felispirit here. As some of you have noticed, I did delete, actually just privated my, last tutorial video that I did kind of a little while ago now. I don't know, I just wasn't happy with it, and yeah, a lot of my skills have, I think, have improved a bit, so yeah. So I'm going to be making videos that are a little bit more specific to I don't know, like, rather than just doing one video on just everything, I'm going to try and split it up a little bit and take in suggestions. So if you'd like to suggest, just comment. I'll probably say that at the end of this video too. This video specifically will be about shading for both painting and line art or cell shading style. So yeah, let's get to it. Alrighty. So I've created two of the same kind of design. It's just going to be a wolf kind of thing. I don't want to get too complicated. And with our painted one, I've kept everything separate except for the little light to the eyes. I'll talk about that later. And it's sketched because we'll just paint over it. It doesn't need a line art. And the line art one, the line art and the colors are all separate. So that way I can use them later. I'm going to start with this one. So basically what I usually do is I'll start with the darker colours. Actually, I should do this first. I'm kind of going to have the lighting source coming from this sort of direction of both animals. So the shadows will be coming from this direction. And they'll be under here and in places where the light can't reach. So actually I'll keep that on there. So then what I'll do is, for the line art one, I'm just going to hide this for a little bit. I have all the colours either in a folder or all merged in one layer. So each of my colours is on a different layer currently. This is just so it's easier to change the colour of the line art later, specifically to wherever, like, so that way it doesn't stand out so much, because it's kind of, you know, standing out quite a lot at the moment. So you can either do that or you can merge it all in one layer. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to set it to multiply. I'm going to make a clipping group. I'm going to use kind of a red shade at the moment. I kind of don't like using black because it kind of looks really dull, but that's just me. Most shading probably isn't going to be that dark. Like, maybe here would be almost black, but in real life, like the void black probably doesn't exist. So yeah, I'm going to use a more red colour, maybe, yep, that kind of colour. Just going to hide that and set it to multiply and bring the opacity down. So this is going to make it a little more see-through and you can see what's behind it a little better. Multiply will make everything under it darker. So see how all my colours have become darker? If I use white, nothing will show up because it can't, like, put the colour, like, darker because it's already as white as you can get. So basically what I'm going to do is, so I want my light source to be coming from here. So all here is probably going to be really light. My eyes will have some shading there. Under the neck here, probably won't get much light at the moment, so I am going to add some shading here. And behind the ears here, probably won't either. I'm just going to do it quick. And here. Alright, so now what I do is I work with the line art. So don't try and shade against your line art to make your kind of fur texture. Because when you do, it just kind of looks unorganized and like the line art is on a completely different universe to your actual shadows. What I usually do to work with the line art is my fur kind of pattern and textures will go where the line art is going. So that way it looks more even and in all of it's kind of tied together. For my fur pattern, I kind of just make kind of, I don't know what to call that shape, like a squished diamond over and over and over again. For shorter fur, you can make them smaller, so like this. Probably need a small brush for that. Yeah, that's better. So this would be probably more shorter fur, where the longer strokes would probably be longer fur. I'm still going to try and keep my light source, so a lot more shading would be over this end than over here. I'm just going to quickly fill in all this fur texture. Another thing too, always work with the rest of your shading. Try not to like make it too like they break apart too much, because then they kind of don't really work together that well. And try not to make it too even too, because the fur will kind of go in all different directions. If it's too even, then it kind of looks a little bit odd. Alrighty, it's a little bit messy. I'm trying not to make this video too long, but that's basically what I do. So then what I'll do is I will finish up adding some darker areas around the face, just to give it a little bit more. So the lighting's coming from there. A little bit messy. Alright, so basically I've kind of got a base kind of down. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to make it darker again over this kind of side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down so it's not so strong. Oops. And I'm going to put some shadows under here again. This, it doesn't matter if it's too messy around the edges, because I am just going to blur it. Put some shadows at this side. Over here, it's a little normal, that's why it looks a bit odd. There we go. Over here. Alrighty. So then I'm going to use a blur tool. I'm not sure if you can do this with Photoshop. I'm pretty sure that you could use an eraser and erase the edges to get that soft kind of effect. But yeah, I use a blurring tool that I'm pretty sure is just a watercolor tool with the blending and everything turned up to the max. So here's all the settings if you would like to make one. Oops. Yeah. Then I just blend these kind of areas so that I kind of get smoother transitions between the two. And you can use all different styles as well, so you could make it so you have multiple layers of these kind of effects, and you can use the eraser tool instead to get more of a fur texture, or bring in other textures into areas you've already darkened. I then will clean up around the edges where I don't actually want it to blur into, because blur kind of brings it everywhere. Make it small. Alrighty. Now that I've got most of my shading down, bring this down a little bit more. I am now going to add my lighting. Oops, I forgot a pupil. For the pupil, I usually just add a new layer and multiply my same shading color and just add. You could probably make it black too if you like. I just like the colours. Alrighty, so now that I've got all this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly add a blur here. Yep. I'm going to start adding my lighting. So what I usually start with is I usually start with a thinner on a luminosity, or if this doesn't have it, but if you're using Fire Alpaca or Photoshop, I'm pretty sure you have to set it to add. I'm going to make this lighting kind of an orange colour, but you can make it whatever colour suits your background, and yeah. So what I usually do is I kind of, where the lightest would hit, I kind of outline the edge of where the light would hit. So yeah, I need to make that a clipping group so it doesn't go outside the... I don't know if I mentioned that before. Clipping groups, see how all of these got a pink line next to them? They'll keep the opacity of the thing underneath them. So I've got all my colours in a folder, so it's keeping the opacity of all the colours combined. So I'm also going to bring this down a little because I don't want it too crazy bright. And quickly finish this off. Alrighty, so then what I usually do is, this is kind of just to make the fur not seem so flat. It's purely aesthetic, really. I made a fur brush, and it's using a bristle kind of texture. I'm pretty sure that one just comes with Say. I'm not sure how to do this with other programs, but you probably just won't get this like liney effect, that's all. So what I've done is I've made this brush, and what I usually do is I will kind of outline in the direction of where the lighting hits the lightest part of each of these little pieces of fur I've created. And I'll quickly do this. And at the moment they're kind of standing out quite a lot, but I will fix that. I'm actually gonna... There is an eye tutorial. I am just kind of working on the eye with everything else. I'm not really saying much about it. There is an eye tutorial on my Instagram page, and I will add a link in the description. So now that I've got these, I use a soft eraser. So it's kind of like the outside, I've set it so that it's really kind of fuzzy. I am not sure what this is called. I know in Photoshop it's called hardness. You bring that down and the outside will become more soft. I brought the density down, so it's kind of like the opacity. And I'm going to bring the size up a bit. So what I kind of do is I just kind of bring down these edges so that they're not quite so hard on the sides. Alright, I'm going to bring this down a little. So for final touch-ups, I will change the color of the line art. I'm probably not going to spend too much time explaining this. I'm just going to do it. I usually use clipping groups over the main line art, or usually do it on separate layers, so that way it's easier to edit. I also always make it darker than the original color. Alrighty, so then what I'm going to do, you can either merge all the layers so that they're on one, or I'm just going to use a folder that everything's in. I'll make a new layer, and I'll make a clipping group, and I'll set it to luminosity for the final kind of lighting. I'm going to use this orange color again, and I'm going to kind of highlight where the lighting would hit most, and add some final details in the eyes. Like I said, I'm not going to go too much into detail about what I do with eyes. I will leave a link in the description if you would like to learn. Probably here. Alright. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my blur tool again. You might have to go a bit further out if you're using Photoshop so that you can erase it. And it's really bright right now, but I am going to blend it down. And I like to do this over the line art as well, so that way it kind of ties it all together. I'm going to bring this down a lot. It's really bright at the moment. I'll blur this too. And yeah, that's basically how I do my more cell shading style or line art style. So now I'm actually going to go on to my painting style. A lot of you have been asking how I do that. So what I usually do, I start with a similar way, and over my colours I will add a multiplier. I'm using similar colour. I've lost the colour, so I think it was like this colour. I'll just change it. Right. So start with a similar colour, and I kind of map out. So I'm not going to go into as much detail as I have with the fur and everything, but I'll kind of map out where the darker areas will be. Let's set this to multiply. Over there, and I've merged my sketch and my colours. You can not merge your sketch and get rid of it later, but I find it doesn't really matter for me because you're just going to go over it anyway. So the darker areas, down a little. Over the eye. And it doesn't have to be that neat either, so I wouldn't go too frantically. Though I will say don't make it too messy because then you'll have a lot of work to do later. So quickly, I'm not even going to. Do the same again with this part. I'm going to set it to multiply. And then blend it. Just to get more of a variation in the different colours. And I do my eyes pretty much the same. I'll just go and paint them up as the eye tutorial. So that should be able to work well with this. Just you won't have a line art, that's all. I am going to draw in kind of an outline to this part because it will actually have one. Alright, so I'm going to merge that. Okay, so I'm going to do the same with the lighting, but I'm probably not going to do I'm not going to do the outline thing this time. Okay, this kind of color. Alright, so now I've got to this kind of sketched out stage. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to merge all of these layers onto a flat kind of, I'm just going to merge it into one layer. So I'm just going to merge down, because if I go start from the top and go down and say For some reason it just messes it all up. Alrighty. So now that I've got my one layer, so that everything is now one layer, what I'm going to do, I don't even need this folder anymore, is I'm going to get a brush tool. So if I'm going to make one, it's brush, and this will bring up how much the new color will blend on the old one. This will bring out how much the color will like continue being used. So as you like go down, this old color fades away into the new one, and this will dilute. So it'll dilute the current color you're using, so the other one will show through more. I'm going to bring these down a little bit, bring this up a little bit. You can use a kind of like a fur texture, like I did with the fur brush over here, but I've kind of stopped using it as much because I haven't really needed it. And yeah, so what I kind of do is I just kind of blend all these colors together and kind of, yeah, I bring this down a little bit. Just for the fur, I kind of like, I start with the darker color and then I'll go over it with the lighter color. So that way you kind of get like a layered kind of technique. So I'll put the darker color up here, and then the lighter color will come over the top. I also usually introduce new colors, so I'll like darken the existing colors in some areas. I'll bring this up so that way it blends a little bit better, just to make them stand out against the other places a bit better, so I don't need line art as much. Yeah. So for the more like kind of furry places, I will start with a darker color and then kind of go over it with the lighter color. And see how I'm kind of going over that pre-existing kind of sketch I'd created. And make the darker color again. And then go over it with the lighter color. And bring this down because it's blending a little bit too much. Just, best thing to do with this too is practice and find what works for you really. I tend to change this a lot to suit what I'm exactly doing at that time. I haven't got like 20 brushes just for painting. I usually just use the one and change it, but if 20 brushes works better for you, make different brushes for different kind of blending and different areas that you plan to work on. So basically I just keep doing this, and kind of the best way to describe it is just blend all the colours together. So that way, well, yeah, in a kind of way that the textures and everything show through. I don't need it quite so bright down here. But kind of try and keep where your lining is as well. So I'll lighten this bit up. Fur too, usually like, it kind of, I haven't really shown it here, but it kind of clumps together in different like pieces. So and it all goes in different directions. So the fur kind of like molds around the body. So it's not all kind of just straight up and down the whole thing. You kind of got to like go in the different directions. So this is kind of going this way, and this is kind of going this way, and it'll start to come down. Here it's kind of going up and this way, and then coming a bit down. Don't stick to the one direction, otherwise it'll just kind of look, so if I were to just do the one direction the whole way, I'm kind of even curving it just automatically. It kind of looks a bit odd. I don't know how else to explain it, but yeah. So if I were to follow the direction that I've created, I'm just doing it really rough and quickly. It depends on what you like too. Like, if you liked it like that before, then you can do it that way. So here's a little bit too long, but that's okay. You know, do some lighter colors. But yeah, this is pretty much how I do my kind of painting style. With the eyes, I tend to just blend it to get rid of like all this kind of sketching line art. Don't need it. Yep. I think I made this way too dark. It shouldn't be like fully black. It looks a bit standing out a little bit too much. And then I'll also kind of have finer details, so like the fur kind of comes over the eye a little bit, so that way it kind of, probably should have gone the other way. Yeah, like that. So that way it kind of blends in and everything kind of just goes together. If that makes sense. Probably not. So around the face too, the fur will be shorter, so I'll usually change the size of my brush to a smaller brush and make my strokes much smaller than the ones over here. Need a darker colour in here. So yeah, I'm going to speed up the rest of this video because I think I've shown you everything that I used to paint. Alrighty, so that's not quite as developed as I normally go, but basically just keep going and improving on areas you think don't look quite right, and you should be right until you can't really find anything that you don't think, yeah. So those are my two styles that I use for different things. Hopefully this video gave you some sort of help or insight or anything at all. If you want to know anything, the program I'm using is called Paintal I don't know. The link will be in the description. Fire Alpaca is free to use. This program isn't, but Fire Alpaca is, so I will leave a link to that as well. Let me know if you would like me to do anything specifically, or you have any ideas that you want me to do. The only thing I'm probably not going to do is anatomy. I know. I probably said it 100 times, but the best way to learn anatomy is to just go and actually look at dogs or cats or elephants. Or I don't know, that was the thing that came to my head. and just draw them and learn how their legs move and bend and look at their skeletal structures and everything like that. I don't think I'll do a video on anatomy, sorry, but everything else I'm open to opinions. So this was how I shade in my 2 different styles. I don't know if I'll do like line art and stuff, like how I did the line art. There's an eye tutorial in the link in the description, and thank you so much for watching.